Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called Why the Dutch Always Say What They Mean. A little scary, but yes, they tend to be quite honest. So let's check it out and comment, like and subscribe.
I'm afraid I can't make it because I'd be travelling there especially for you. A Dutch contributor recently responded to a meeting request. Blunt and very honest. A stark contrast to how we speak in the UK.
British people and Americans and others to some extent tend to sort of dance around the issues.
If you are vague or not direct, then people will say, well, come on, let's be honest so we can move on.
I was born in the Netherlands but grew up in the UK, so I've always noticed the two extremes. British politeness and Dutch directness. But how much truth is there to this stereotype?
The Dutch are known as being direct, which means that the style is that the messages are quite precise and clear. They say what they mean what they say. So yes is really yes, and yet no is really no. Tomorrow is really tomorrow. Whereas in most other countries, the communication style is indirect.
Yeah, maybe always means no. Possibly means probably not. The Dutch people tend to be much more, what they...
I probably, like, if someone invites you somewhere and you're like, oh, probably I'll make it, that's a no.
would say recht door is straightforward, telling things how it really is, which can come as a bit of a surprise to outsiders.
I'll let you know.
Ben Coates grew up in the UK, but has lived in the Netherlands for over a decade.
I remember just in my first couple of weeks living in the country, I went and got a haircut and then went back to work afterwards. And the first thing one of my colleagues said was, it looked better before you went for a haircut.
No!
Dutch directness comes from a long history of diplomacy, which benefits the Netherlands to this day.
The direct communication style is part of the consensus culture.
The Netherlands was formed based on Calvinist roots going back hundreds of years and became a great trading nation and a very successful wealthy nation during the 17th century golden age. You have a political culture which is extremely focused on consensus and compromise here.
So people learn to share ideas and come up with own opinions.
But shouldn't it be the opposite?
It's needed to be honest about your ideas and your thoughts and your opinions so they could find out a common solution. And that still is. It is deep-rooted and it's still a part of the communication style.
I went to meet business psychologist Aukje Nauta, who explains that this cultural stereotype means the Dutch sometimes come across as rude.
I think that Dutch are perceived as more direct because we use less often words like please, could you please, should you, and that explains why we come across as less polite.
Correct.
In the Netherlands, being polite is as important as in England.
It's
meant
to be honest and clear, but it's often perceived as being rude. And even arrogant.
The reason why cultural comparisons are problematic is that it leads to stereotyping. This means that when you look at a Dutch person as very rude and direct, you are not that curious about what kind of person he or she is. And I think it's important to be curious after each other because then you can make much better connections than when you put someone in a box instead of being really interested in a person.
Yeah.
When it comes to everyday conversations, this expectation of directness can result in some unfortunate misunderstandings.
Well, the Netherlands, when they speak and learn English and when they translate the English language, they will literally translate it. If you have a business proposal and the Englishman or woman says, well, that's very interesting, I will have a look at it. We really translate that, oh, that's interesting, so they are interested. Well, it could also mean, well, I'm not interested and it's a bad idea.
You can never just straight up say that someone's work is not good. That instinct is quite deeply ingrained in British society. It also extends to just trying to avoid causing offence and always saying things in the nicest possible way.
Correct.
And then the challenge for Dutch people is to find out what the real meaning of the words is. And we can both speak English, but it doesn't mean that we get the real message.
For example, there's a British sort of tick of saying, oh, you must come for dinner or we must do it again sometime soon, when obviously the last thing you mean is that that person should come for dinner next week, whereas Dutch people would naturally, inevitably tend to take those kind of statements more literally, I think.
Okay.
The invitation will be in your inbox the next day.
And also, of course, for the people in the UK, it's challenging to not be that shocked because of the directness.
A British person would see sort of hedging around a difficult issue or politeness and civility. Whereas a Dutch person might see the same thing as being actually dishonest. It's not just undesirable, but actually an unpleasant thing to do for a Dutch person.
Oh,
You can see
okay.
traces of this type of transparency all over the Netherlands. How people queue, leave curtains open for passers-by to peep inside, and even how they
Your house.
realise nudity.
I think to some extent the Dutch are less prudish than the British when it comes to
Yes.
swimming naked or going to saunas or those kind of things. Go to a popular beach in the Netherlands on a sunny day and
Yeah.
you sometimes feel like there's more naked people there than people with swimming costumes.
Yeah, like sunbathing topless, like for women. I think that's a thing. Like it's very popular in the Netherlands, and I think some places in Europe, but that doesn't really like not the UK, of course.
On.
When you can't show your body, the consequence is you associate nude bodies with sexuality.
Yeah.
Whereas when you change clothes at the beach and you see a little bit of nakedness, then it's just ordinary. It normalizes a naked body.
Although I should
Correct.
say, I mean, I think it's hard to be more prude than the British when it comes to that stuff. So I'm not sure how
Okay.
much of it is just the Dutch being more normal and the British being excessively prude, but
Just
there probably
depends.
is a big difference there.
So if you really want something, just say it how it is. Just be aware that some people may mistake your honesty for rudeness. And remember, if you say, "we must meet for dinner" to a Dutch person,
They'll
they
go.
really will expect an invite.
Okay, yeah, this was very funny. It was funny in a way that, yes, it's very informative as well. I think, like, you know, they explained that the whole concept of being, like, so direct and so, yes, direct comes from, like, the whole historical background because they have, like, a history of diplomacy. But I don't know, like, yes, they're telling me, so it must be true. But I would think, like, should it be like the opposite? Because to me, not that diplomacy is lying, but a little bit. I think, you know, sometimes because to me, like, being a little bit more diplomatic means also being not that offensive or trying to not offend everyone or anyone. So I would think, well, you know, it's like somebody asks you, like the guy with the haircut, it's like, hey, does this, like, what do you think about my haircut? It's like, okay, well, the diplomatic answer to me would be like, oh, something of like, you actually be real, I want to tell you the truth, but I don't want to be so direct that's going to be offensive. So it would be like, maybe if I don't like the haircut, I'd be a little bit like, well, the diplomatic answer would be something like, oh, I think maybe it looks okay, it looks good. However, I think I preferred it like how you had it before. Something along those lines. So I would think that's the diplomatic answer, but I wouldn't think, oh, the diplomatic answer is just to outright tell this person, wow, it sucks, like it looks terrible, and you should definitely go back to what you had before. Like I won't tell you, like it looks bad. You know, it's just like, I don't know, because it comes across as rude, and I do understand why they must think, well, it's the opposite, like, why would you lie? Like, you're just, like, constantly lying. No, it's not lying. I think it's just, like, it's not even, like, a white lie. I was gonna say, it's a white lie, but no, it's not even a white lie. It's just, like, is it actually a lie? Well, yes, you're not thinking, like, you're not saying what you mean, you're not saying it out loud, but I think sometimes, and I think that's important because we live in a society with other people, I think sometimes, like, yes, honesty is very important. You should always be honest about, like, especially in some certain subjects, yes, and it's, you know, it depends on the conversation at hand, but yes, you should always strive for honesty, but sometimes I think, again, because we live in a society and it's important, you know, what we sort of like, what we owe to other people, I'm not gonna be, yes, you know, because honesty is like so important and being direct is so important, that I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna hurt like other people's like feelings. I'm not gonna do that. So I think like, yeah, well, is it a lie? Sure, it's a little white lie, but I don't want to hurt anyone because that's not my intention. So why would I be like so honest that I would hurt people and I'm going to hurt someone's feelings just because, like, oh, honesty and directness is very important? I don't know. I think like sometimes you have to, like, you know, skew the truth a little bit just because, again, you don't want people to be offended, or again, you don't want to like hurt other people's feelings. Although I do understand that sometimes, like, well, sometimes I have to like give you the harsh truth, and it's like, you know, I'm sorry, but like, I don't know, like, this outfit looks terrible on you. So yes, but I think there are also like ways that you can also speak very directly and tell someone the truth without being so, I don't know, direct. It's like you can still tell them the truth, but still like maybe not sugarcoating the whole thing, but just a little bit. I don't know, like an easier pill to swallow, maybe. Like, yes, maybe I'm sugarcoating it, like to make the pill easier to swallow. But I don't know. I think like there's a line, and that's probably why the disconnect, where the disconnect comes from. Because it's like people, I don't think people want to be or like lying to everyone just because, yes, it's because it's the polite way to do. Sometimes yes, and some people definitely do so like that. But I'm talking to like when you actually have, with a friend or a loved one, like someone that you actually like, and not just a stranger on the street. So, then because those are the feelings that you're gonna get hurt. Like if a stranger like tells you something rude, like you're just gonna be, wow, what a rude person. That's it, and you're gonna continue on with your day. But if someone that you actually care about like hurts you and offends you in some way or tells you something bad, it's gonna hurt because you like them and you love them and you care about them. So of course it's gonna be more hurtful. So it's like I think there's a little bit of a line over there, and yeah, I think that's where like this kind of comes from, because for Dutch people probably it's like, why do you have to think about this so much of like, oh, I'm gonna hurt someone's feelings and I'm gonna be like or I would come across as rude maybe in a work situation, like I can't be like that direct because people are gonna think of me as a rude person, and they probably care less about those things. And it's like, we don't want to lie, but sometimes like, yeah, I have to like tell you the truth, and that's it, who cares? And it's like, no, for the rest of the world, I think it does come across as like very rude, but I get that that's not their intention. It's just like how they are, and that's their culture, and they're not doing this on purpose. And on the other hand, like they said, like the British people are like, of course, very polite, and the whole thing of like, they don't want to, and I think that's just something like that's very British. The whole, you don't outright like say things, or like they say, oh, like would love to have you for dinner. I don't know, like they have a way of like phrasing things that is like a question probably, but it's like, yeah, sometimes like it's a question, but it's probably the answer is no. So, or maybe the answer is yes. You would know the context. I can't think of like a specific phrase right now, but once you like get, when you hear them, like you'll know, like when you're interacting with them, it's like, oh, I get it. Yes. It's like, again, when you're like, oh, we should do this next time. Yeah, we should do this another time. Yeah, sure. Sometimes depending on the social situation that you find yourself in, you'll know, well, that means obviously, yes, it's a polite thing to say of like, oh, sure, let's get together soon. We should do this again sometime. But we're not gonna do this. Like I'm not gonna call you. I'm not gonna call you back. It's like this is not it. But again, I understand if Dutch people are obviously like super. Like, no, they are used to like people, like if you're telling me something, I'm taking this literally, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, so I'll call you next week. It's like, oh my god, no, it's not like that. And I think that's what things like get lost in translation. And I think it's really one of the people in the sort of like in the clip were like, yes, I think you can both speak the same language, and yes, we understand each other perfectly, and I understand what the words mean, but the whole like little nuances of the little phrases or ways of how someone is, those things can definitely get lost in translation. That's why it's important to actually know how a culture and how people actually are in this specific place that if you ever find yourself in one of those places, or you're interacting with people from said place, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. But that's just like, again, it happens. Like that's not just a Dutch versus a British thing. I think it happens like with other nationalities, other countries. It's just like, yeah, we are speaking the same language, but sometimes it doesn't, like we're not understanding each other properly. And because again, it's like the little cultural nuances that you have to really do get used to, and you'll grasp them, like eventually, once you actually get to submerge yourself in the culture. But I do really, I don't know, it's like, it's a little, I think it's a bit of a line. And I think again, it's like there's gonna be an equilibrium of something, balance of being, there's a way of me to tell you like what I actually believe and what I actually think, and not being like super rude about this or like hurting someone's feelings. And if it's just like a little silly thing, I don't know, that's just me. I will not hesitate. I do not care if it's just like a silly thing. I'm not gonna hurt your feelings. I'm gonna lie, and that's it. Because it's like, again, why would I be? I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. It's someone that I care about. I'm like, no. It's like, yeah, that color looks great on you. Yes, you know, again, why I don't know. I think like when it's like sillier things, doesn't matter. When it's like, I know, some other situations, well, yeah, honestly, you should definitely like, it matters a little bit more. And again, you should find a balance between like saying what you actually mean and what you actually want to come across, and not being super direct, especially with other people, you know. Not Dutch people, because obviously with Dutch people, go out of town, be super direct, tell them like, no, not sugarcoating anything, not saying anything. I know that you can take it and you're not going to take it personally and your feelings are not going to get hurt. So he's like, yeah, sure, you know, this, I hate it, that's it. He's like, okay, great. But that was it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.